In this video, we're going to cover 3 important sections that come into play toward the end of the transaction. Section 15, Repairs, Section 16, Final Verification of Condition, and Section 17, Prorations. We'll start with Section 15, which explains how repairs must be completed, what standards they must meet, and what documentation the seller is required to provide before closing. Then we'll move into Section 16, the buyer's final verification of condition, often called the final walkthrough, where the buyer confirms the property has been maintained, repairs have been completed, and the seller has met their contractual obligations. Finally, we'll cover Section 17, which outlines how property taxes, HA dues, assessments, and other financial items are prorated between buyer and seller as of the close of escrow. By the end of this video, you'll understand how all 3 sections work together to ensure a smooth, compliant closing process with no last-minute surprises. Let's get started with Sections 15, 16, and 17 of the RPA. Section 15, Repairs. What this paragraph does sets the standard for any repairs that seller has agreed to do and what documentation must be given to buyer. Step by step. 1. Timing. All agreed repairs must be completed before buyer's final verification of condition, Section 16, unless both parties agree otherwise in writing. 2. Who can do the work? Repairs at seller's expense may be done by seller personally or by others, contractors. 3. Compliance with law. All work must comply with applicable law. A. Permits pulled when required. B. Inspections and approvals completed. C. Final sign-offs from the city/county if needed. 4. Quality of work. Repairs must be done in a good, skillful manner with materials of similar quality and appearance to existing materials. Buyer acknowledges that exact cosmetic matching is not always possible, for example, older tile or paint. 5. Seller's documentation duties. Before final verification, seller must A. Obtain invoices and paid receipts for repairs performed by others. B. Prepare a written statement listing repairs seller did personally and the dates. C. Provide copies of all invoices, receipts, and that statement to buyer before the final verification. If your buyer negotiated repairs, don't just trust they were done. Get invoices, receipts, and a written summary from the seller, then verify everything at the final walkthrough. Section 16, Final Verification of Condition. This is the final walkthrough, tied to Section 3J, normally 5 days before close of escrow. It is not a contingency of the sale. Purpose: what buyer is allowed to confirm when. Property maintenance: confirm the property has been maintained from acceptance through closing as required by Section 7B, no new damage, no major changes. 2. Repairs completed: confirm that all agreed repairs, from inspections, RR/RRR addenda, have been completed as agreed. 3. Other seller obligations: confirm seller has complied with other contractual duties under the agreement. The paragraph references CAR Form VP, verification of property, as the form to document this visit. What it is not a new investigation period. Not a new contingency that allows cancellation for old issues. Not a chance to start brand new negotiations just because the buyer changed their mind. If problems are found, use the VP to document. Then agents may use tools like a notice to perform, request an escrow holdback, or negotiate a credit/extension per brokerage guidance. Section 17, Prorations of Property Taxes and Other Items. This section explains how money items are split between buyer and seller as of close of escrow CRE. A. Items paid current and prorated as of close of escrow. Unless otherwise agreed, these must be paid current and prorated between buyer and seller. 1. Real property taxes and assessments. 2. Interest, for example on assumed loans if applicable. 3. Seller rental payments to third parties related to the property. 4. Regular HOA assessments due before COD. 5. Insurance premiums on policies buyer is assuming. 6. Payments on bonds and assessments buyer is assuming. 7. Mello-Roos and other special assessment district bonds/assessments that are already liens. B. Items buyer assumes without credit toward price. Buyer takes these on after close of escrow with no price credit. 1. Prorated payments on Melrose and special assessment district bonds/assessments that are due after COE. 2. HOA special or emergency assessments that become due after COE. Seller must pay any HOA special or emergency assessments due before COE. C. Reassessment and supplemental taxes. Property will usually be reassessed when ownership changes. Supplemental tax bills delivered to escrow before closing must be prorated. 1. Buyer pays portions after COE. 2. Seller pays portions before COE. 3. RPA points to CAR Forms SBT or SBSA for more detail. D. Service fees, utilities, and future bills. Seller agrees all service fees, maintenance costs, and utility bills will be paid current through COE. Tax bills and utility bills issued after COE are to be handled directly between buyer and seller, not by escrow. E. How the math is done. Prorations are calculated using a 30-day month standard.